I've already tweeted it out.
Oh, good.
It's Wednesday, July 26th. Welcome to CT Pulse on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Chaplinsky, and today we're focusing on municipal politics as local candidates for town and city boards, as well as mayoral and first selectman candidates prepare for November. We're talking about a few towns that have already had some interesting political developments. Later in the show, I'm going to welcome Greg Riley of the New Canaan Advertiser to talk results of a Republican caucus there. But first, I'm happy to have back Stratford Star editor Melvin Mason, who's been busy covering, among other things, a town council with a lot of infighting, Melvin, as well as a third budget veto by Republican Mayor John Harkins.
Yes, that came through yesterday. Yeah, Mayor John Harkins once again let the town of Stratford know that he is none too pleased with the budget that was approved by the so-called Group of Six. Some people call them hardliners, some people call them steadfasters. I just called them the Group of Six, and they voted on the budget, $217.1 million. It did come with a small tax increase, so they kind of moved off of their stance of no tax increase. But then Mayor Harkins said, nope, this doesn't fund everything correctly, so he put the kibosh on it yesterday. Third time he's done it.
So we're 26 days into the new fiscal year. How is Stratford going to start paying its bills with no budget? I mean, what have you been hearing?
They're right now paying it. They essentially sent out tax bills last week with the current tax rate of with the tax rate of 39.97 mils, because it's 38.99 plus you had to account for another $6 million for salaries and contractual obligations. So essentially, they're sending out the tax bills. It essentially allows the town to keep funding itself, because right now, essentially, they have to just operate under the old budget plus the additional $6 million in order to keep running, and they need the tax money. And of course, a lot of people got angry about that too and said, "Oh, why are you guys voting to approve? Why are you guys voting to have a tax, send out tax bills when no mill rate's been set?" But the mayor, according to the town charter, has the right to do so. He just, but it's unfortunately it's ticking off a lot of people because they're saying, "I didn't want my tax to increase, and the town council hasn't voted on a budget yet, and they haven't set a mill rate." So. But they did so, and essentially they're saying that if they didn't, the town would have run out of money by August, which meant you would have to shut down services.
That's interesting. Now, I know taxes in Stratford, are higher than some neighboring towns like Shelton, for example, where they are significantly lower. So is that what's kind of led to a lot of people coming forward and being no more? Is that what you're hearing a lot of?
Yeah, essentially a lot of the people in town are just basically saying, look, we're fed up. We don't like this anymore. We really just want to get a break, because they're saying, look, we had all these taxes go up over the years. We had a huge tax increase last year, which of course was also, and I know we're going to get into council discussion in a little bit, but that was also a fractured council last year because it was a 5-5 vote that Mayor Harkins, and he broke the tie, and the tax increase went way up. And a lot of people just basically said, look, we're tired of this. We can't take any more. They're talking about, people are basically saying, oh, I'm going to put my house up for sale. This just can't be done anymore.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about the town council. Is it a party split? Is it Democrats, Republicans, or is it more than that?
It's mostly Democrats, even though there is one Republican. 7th District Councilman Marianne Mitziantezo, also the oldest member of the council. She's aligned with the so-called Group of Six, and the Group of Six are 2nd District Councilman Scott Franklin Posner, 3rd District Councilman Wally Kadeem, 5th District Councilman Greg Can, who's a massive firebrand and basically opposes Mayor Harkins at pretty much every turn. 6th District Councilman Phil Young, who's the Democratic majority leader, and Tezo, as I mentioned before, and then of course 10th District Councilman Tina Manis. Those are all Democrats except for Mitzi and Tezo. The other four, the smaller group, the minority group, is a mix of Democrats and Republicans. You got Council Chairman Beth DePonte, who represents the 1st District. She's a Democrat, as is 4th District Councilman David Hardin. And then, of course, there are 2 Republicans who are pretty much along within the Republican establishment, and that's 8th District Councilman and Minority Leader Vincent Chase, who's not going to run again, and then, of course, 9th District Councilman Alan Llewellyn, who is actually now going to be running for the Board of Ed, because he basically said that the council's broken and essentially that we need to start fresh, and he considers himself part of the problem because they couldn't get things taken care of, so he's leaving.
Now, speaking of infighting, you had a video recently from was it a special meeting on the budget?
Yeah, a special meeting on the budget that was on actually the day before July 4th. So while this company was closed and everyone else was getting ready to go out and enjoy the Independence Day long weekend, I had to schlep off to Stratford at 8:30 in the morning to cover this meeting. And of course, the meeting was held at 8:30 in the morning because they said it was the earliest that it could be done because that was the start of the new fiscal year. And they said, look, we have to try and get a budget in place. Of course, no budget got in place, and then, of course, the fireworks that you...
yeah, so we're going to play it in just a bit, but tell us who's yelling at whom here. All
right, the brief explanation, as I can try and say it, is the fact that 4th District Councilman David Hardin, a Democrat, basically ends up yelling at 10th District Councilman Tina Manis after a member of the public was thrown out for hissing at a statement that Vincent Chase had made. And she basically said that she had a right to stay, and Hardin said, "Knock it off," and then a shouting match ensued, and then of course that's when the video came in showing David Hardin, basically telling Tina Manis exactly what he thought of her.
All right, well let's check that out right now. Sure. Video by Melvin Mason.
Mrs. Manis, you do nothing but cause ruckus in this town with your nonsense and your parade of clownery. So don't you ever sit here and talk to me like that. You are a bully. And that's what you are. You pull this town apart, ranting and raving on Facebook about nonsense. You should be ashamed of yourself, and the crowd of people that march behind you should be ashamed of themselves. This is a community that stands together, and we help people. We don't pull people apart. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Mr. Hardin, Mr. Manis, Mr. Barrington Posner.
And an elderly lady was just escorted out of the audience and not the council member that's screaming and acting like an animal.
Ms. Manis, Mr. Barrington Posner, and Mr. Hardin.
When you're ready to conduct business in a calm manner, I'll do that.
That was staged, ladies and gentlemen. They had every intention of wanting out.
Wow, okay, so Melvin, you posted that video. What was the community reaction like? Because I think a lot of times the council members, they're together all the time, they're in the midst of it. They might not have as good of an idea of how the public would react to something like that.
Some people basically really took to task David Hardin, saying that, why are you exploiting like this? There should be a certain level of decorum. However, I guess part of the video, they didn't show that Tina Manis had also yelled at David Hardin before that as well too. Okay. And as I mentioned before, someone had hissed at Vincent Chase when he was making a statement about the budget. Beth DePonte asked for that person, the council chairman, Beth DePonte asked for that person to leave or had them escorted out of the chambers. And that's when the beginning set up. But just to let you know about how the people reacted about this, people were really split on this. Some people basically said, I've heard some people basically say, David Hardin, he's trying to maintain the decorum in the meeting. He's fed up with Tina and the fact that he also referenced her going on to Facebook and this group called Stratford Get Answers, where a lot of political discussion takes place, and basically berating people there. And he just really didn't appreciate that. And then, of course, but a lot of people basically said, this is no way to control. There's no way to demonstrate yourself on, in public. Here we are. You're the town's main board, and here you are shouting at each other the day before the 4th of July. Well, not even just the day before the 4th of July, just the fact you're yelling at each other, period. And then, of course, the gentleman who got up and left with Tina Manis, that was 2nd District Councilman Scott Farrington Posner. Those two are very much connected on the town council. And but yeah, he walked out there and basically he also berated Mr. Hardin for basically acting like, as he said, an animal.
Now, we should say Republican Mayor John Harkin's not running for re-election. In this upcoming municipal election, all the town council seats are up for re-election. I mean, do you see kind of this infighting and the fact that there's still no budget having an effect in November?
I definitely think it is. And some people might even say that the Republicans are even kind of like, doing this to kind of really paint the Democrats in a bad way. And of course, a lot of people will also say the Democrats haven't done themselves any favors by not being unified, because obviously, as we're going to get to, the Democrats were unable to choose a candidate during their nomination meeting. They did not choose a mayor. They did not choose a person to run for mayor because Stephanie Phillips who was the DTC chairman. She was expected to get the nomination, but she did not get it because she only got 38 votes compared to 32 votes for Len Petrocelli, who was also a former DTC chairman, and Joe Paul, who got 11 votes. And of course, I think you need to have a majority of the vote in order to get the nomination. So none of them got. She had a plurality, but she didn't have the majority, so therefore she was unable to get the nomination.
So they're all going to primary, as well as a lot of town council candidates, right?
Yes.
What are some of those most interesting races that you're going to be keeping an eye on?
I think you and I talked about this before we even came on. The first one, the most interesting one, of course, is David Hardin is being primaried by his ex-wife, Indiana Susana. Their divorce went official back in April, and now she's primarying, basically saying that David Hardin. She said that 2 years ago she went on the trail with David, made all these, David made all these promises, and essentially he hasn't kept these promises, and I feel a need to kind of be a better representative than he has been. So that's the I guess you said the juicy one.
That is.
But right now we're also possibly right now facing another three-way primary, and that's the first district. Beth DePonte, who is very unpopular with a certain sect of Democrats. She won her nomination last Thursday. However, she was unable. However, she will have to face John Rich, who is on the Stratford Dog Park Committee. Everyone talks about the dog park, and he was a big reason why the dog park was created and was finalized. So he's going to be primary, and also a new gentleman by the name of Beau Tran. That's Bieu Tran. I believe he's a newcomer to Stratford politics. He is also going to primary in the first district, and then of course in the third district, Wally Kadeem, and I'll get to a very important, not very important, but an interesting tidbit that came up during the meeting. He will be challenged by Dion Francis, which I accidentally sometimes wrote as Deion Sanders. My apologies. And he will also be challenged. There's one other person who's going to challenge him, and that is, of course, Michael Singh. And if you wonder why that name Michael Singh sounds familiar, it's because of the fact that Michael Singh has previously challenged for state rep. He's also challenged for mayor. He frequently pulls papers, decides to either campaign or decides to run, but eventually he doesn't get anywhere and he doesn't win, even though he was on the town council before. But I guess there's a lot of history. I think Greg Rowley, when you talk to him later today, he can probably explain it as he used to be a strapper, so I learned about Mr. Singh's history. But yeah, and here's a little bit of breaking news for you. Mr. Prez Palmer, who ran for the 120th district seat last year against Kevin Kelly, actually, not Kevin Kelly. I believe he did run for 21st against the 21st Senate District against Kevin Kelly. He didn't win that race, but now he's also he's going to run a primary against Phil Young for the 6th District Town Council seat. So you're going to have as many as 11 primaries between the Democrats and the Republicans on September 12th, and that's going to be a lot of stuff.
And we should mention in the mayoral side, Laura Hoydick, former state representative, current state representative. Sorry, she was endorsed by the Republicans, but she will face a primary from Sandra Zalick.
Yeah, Sandra Zalick. Yeah, she and mind you, Sandra Zalick knew going in. She even said in her announcement, she said, "I fully expect that I will not have the support of the party." During the nomination meeting, and she was correct. She lost 48-4. So she said she's going to take it to the people and let them decide, and she expects the Republicans will back her. Another interesting primary that's coming out is Mitzi Antezo, current town councilman. She is the 7th District Town Councilman, and she will have to primary against Bill Perillo, who received the nomination at last week's Republican meeting. The only thing about it, though, is it's not new ground for her. She did it last time. She lost to Gavin Forrester, former town councilman, at the meeting, and then did a primary against Gavin Forrester 2 years ago and won. Wow. And then she managed to beat Sean Halbert, who, by the way, is now running in the 8th district for the Democrats. Yeah. So
the Republicans trying to get her out, but she's not going anywhere. Yeah, it seems like so far. She and of course former councilman Mark Dumas. It looks like it's spelled Dumas, but it's Dumas. He was also a Republican who was not within the circle of trust, for lack of a better term, with the establishment with Lou DeCilio.
he won 2nd District. He had to step down because I guess he had some family issues to take care of, and that's when Scott Farrington Posner, he won a special election against, he won a special election to fill that seat.
Now, Melvin, I do have to say some towns, it's hard to find volunteers to step forward for some of these elected positions, but it seems like Stratford, at least in that case, is in pretty good shape as far as people being engaged.
Yeah, no question. I mean, and I kind of came on at an interesting time. 2 years ago, you had the WPCA sale, and of course that was a big catalyst. That was a big thing that helped the Democrats get over and take the majority on the town council, whereas before it was all Republicans, and Mayor Harkins was sitting pretty. Now this time he has to face a group of Democrats who just plain don't want to work with him or have accused him of not wanting to work with them. Now the Republicans are basically going to try and say, look, the Democrats are just basically being wasteful. They have no plan. That's what Mayor Harkins has repeatedly said. He said it in our story that's going to run in StratfordStar.com this week and in the newspaper. That the Democrats have no plan. They just basically thought this dollar figure to get to a zero, and there's no plan, no basis behind it. So the Republicans are now basically banking on the fact that they're going to get a lot of voters out to basically say, you can't trust the Democrats. Look what they've done for you for the last 2 years. It's been nothing but chaos and dysfunction. Right. And I can imagine that video, even though David Hardin has worked with Mayor Harkins, I'm sure that video, plus there's another video one time of Tina Manis allegedly, not allegedly, but actually seen on video referring to Mayor Harkins as an idiot. Those will be used by the Republicans. I'd be surprised if they weren't. Right. To get on and basically say, look, the Democrats are dysfunctional. They haven't gotten you a budget. They've raised your taxes. And oh, yeah, we can do better. All
right. Well, Melvin, people can, of course, follow a lot more at StratfordStar.com. There's so much going on all the time, and we'll keep an eye out for what's going to happen with the budget next.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I would tell people, whenever a special meeting is announced, you can follow us on Twitter at StratfordStar. I know, much to my wife's chagrin, that I'll probably have to attend another special meeting to take care of all this. And like I said, Stratford is never boring.
Never boring. All right. Well, Melvin Mason, editor of the Stratford Star, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Kate. Great
all
to join you
right.
here.
We're going to step out for a break, and we will come back and have on the phone Greg Riley of the New Canaan Advertiser after this.
School's out, the weather is hot, and the fish are biting. Whether you're heading to the beach or out on a boat, stop in at the dock shop before you go to fill your beach bag or tackle box with everything you'll need for fun in the sun. A new beach cover-up, some sunscreen, or just some bait, the dock shop has you covered from either location. 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport. And yes, you heard that right. Bait is now available in Darien and Westport. The dock shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, dockshop.com.
I can't believe it.
Well, Dad, you did it. You sold 160 cars. Ready to go back upstairs now?
I think it's time. I wonder how the boys are making out in their new office. Not what I had in mind, Kyle. What, Dad?
Maybe we should retire. Right now, lease a 2017 Rogue S for only $139 a month. Isn't it time you got Millerized?
If you've ever thought about owning a motor coach or learning about what it's like to travel the open road in superior style and comfort, then contact Dave's RV Center in Danbury, Connecticut. Offering the best quality Class A motorhomes from Newmar, travel trailers and fifth wheel lines from Surveyor, and a toy hauler line from Work and Play. Choose from Newmar's Gas Line, Baystar and Canyon Star, or from Newmar's Diesel Line, Ventana and Dutch Star. And with unparalleled service and maintenance, Dave's RV is committed to keeping you and your motor coach safely on the road and enjoying it to the fullest. Stop by their showroom, 2 Industrial Plaza Road, Danbury, Connecticut, or call 877-483-3866.
Want a new experience in car buying? Skep Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram with one of the largest inventories of new 2- and 4-door Wranglers. We are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Come visit our new Ram Truck Center. Browse our websites, skepchryslerjeep.com or skepdodge.net to find the new Jeep, Chrysler Dodge car, minivan, or Ram truck you've been looking for. Just 2 miles from both I-95 or the Merritt Parkway exit 44. Save thousands right now at the summer clearance event. Going on now through July 31st.
If you're watching this broadcast, you're not alone. The HAN network is available for 200,000 Connecticut cable customers on the Frontier network, and we've also reached more than 2 million viewers on our free live streaming sports, news, and entertainment broadcasts. To reach our rapidly growing audience, contact Advertising Director Jessica Murrin at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
Welcome back to CT Pulse on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Chaplinsky, and I'm joined on the phone now by New Canaan Advertiser editor Greg Riley. Just last week, the Advertiser covered a Republican caucus in town where the incumbent First Selectman Rob Malazzi was ousted by a thin margin, Kevin Moynihan receiving the nomination from the Republicans. Greg, thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, Kate. Good to be with you.
Now, first, how long has Rob Malazzi been in office in New Canaan?
He has been the first selectman. He's finishing up his third two-year term. So 6 years as first selectman, and he was on the board of selectmen for 4 years prior to that. So he considers himself 10 years in in the top board in the town.
Now, who are these other Republican candidates that step forward? Kevin Moynihan and Christina Aguirre-Ross. Kind of what's their background in town?
Kevin Moynihan is a one-term town councilman. His 4-year term on the town council is finishing up this year, and he's a retired investment bank attorney. So successful guy and very, very busy, active volunteer in town in all sorts of organizations. In addition to being, on the legislative body, the town council, for the past 4 years. And I will say his work on the town council, so far as I have seen, has been diligent and, does kind of guy that does a lot of research, works closely with the committees, works closely with other town bodies, and really gets involved in all different, in as many different areas as he can. Christina Aguirre-Ross is just in the middle of her first term on the town council. She's an architect by trade and has been involved in various town activities over the years as well, volunteer and, particularly volunteer. And it was Christina that is one of the first persons that really started expressing unhappiness with Malazzi, the first selectman, about a year ago. Being an architect, she's involved in buildings and public works, and she takes a particular interest in that kind of thing. And there was an issue about a year ago that really piqued her interest and sort of turned her off on the first selectman, frankly.
Now, what was that issue, and when did some of these this unrest within the Republican Party start to show? Yes,
it was about a year ago, and I think the instance was the Outback Teen Center building, which became the property of the town. I think it was last July, 2016, after the teen center failed on its own financially. The building, which sits on town property right behind Town Hall, became the property of the town. They started looking at it. What do we do with it? The first selectman had a building inspector come in and practically condemn the building to say, this may be unsafe. We better shut this down. It could blow over if a hurricane hits, and rather drastic assessment. It was discovered later with a second opinion that might have been that first opinion might have been exaggerated a little bit. Maybe because some people in town kind of hoped the building would go away, or they would have a reason to get rid of it. So another assessment found that the Outback really was not so unstable or unsafe. So that raised suspicion. The town council became very suspicious of some of the information that was coming out from the first selectman's office and the public works department that reports to the first selectman's office. So that was really the beginning of it. And Christina Aguirre-Ross was, and some cohorts on the council were really suspicious from then on.
Interesting. And now, at the caucus last week, Aguirre-Ross got 60 votes, Kevin Moynihan had 612, and Rob Malazzi
Right.
602. So this was just a 10
Right.
vote margin. And initially,
Yes.
the first selectman was asking for a recount. And there were, you
Yes.
reported on that some people said that ballots were being removed from the ballot box during voting hours and might not have been completely secured at all times. Were you able to look into that and find anything out about that?
Yes. First of all, the Malazzi's request for a recount didn't come fast enough in hindsight, because the RTC, the Republican Town Committee, ruled that once the caucus is closed, we can't go back and change the rules. And the rules were clear that a vote had to be within 5 votes between the top 2 vote getters in order to have a recount. So the call for the recount came late in hindsight. And yes, there was a report that ballots were being removed from the ballot machine. You know, this was a scanning machine that you might be familiar with.
Right.
Scanning of paper ballots. So what I learned is that it is normal standard operating procedure for paper ballots to be removed from ballot machines periodically so the machines don't jam. So yes, ballots were removed. From what I hear from the moderator and the people in charge of tallying and ballot security, there was never a time when the ballots were left alone with one person. They were never they were never out of a secure location. So the word I got was that there was no reason to believe that anything might have gone wrong with the count.
Now, was
and
there...
even if ballots were, let's say they were mishandled once removed, maybe they weren't put into the closet quickly enough or something. I'm not saying that happened, but even if it did happen, it would not have changed the scanning tabulation. So anyway, so that was that. And so the recount did not happen. And from the officials say, of course, there was no reason to believe that the results would have been any different if there was a recount.
Now, Greg, was there surprise at all in town regarding the results?
Yes. At least a number of officials expressed surprise. They might have been more surprised than I was. I can't say I was overly surprised, because I saw Kevin Moynihan working very hard pursuing this endorsement. I mean, he was not only, had a strategic marketing plan that I'm happy to say included the advertiser, especially since he was successful, but he was out there at the train, platforms day and night for weeks. And he was, he raised money very quickly, quicker than he expected. So, he was working hard, and there was some unrest, and Malazzi had been in office for 3 terms. And I would dare say that Malazzi was not out hustling very hard on the campaign trail. He was, in my view, he was relying on the power of the incumbency, being the first selectman, hoping that would carry the day. And it didn't. And so I was not personally overly surprised by the result, but people that have been around watching these things, for decades were, they say, they were surprised to see.
I was surprised to see this week
ousted.
the news that Rob Malazzi will not primary. He's decided not to do that. He said he doesn't want to put, voters in town through kind of the drama of it. Were you surprised by his announcement?
Well, again, not really. I think it was a personal setback. I think it might have taken Rob by surprise, Malazzi, that is, and I think it may have taken the wind out of his sail, and he took a few days to reassess and just said, okay, I've been on this Board of Selectmen for 10 years. I just got a pretty serious message sent across my bow, and he didn't tell me what he was thinking, but I had a feeling he was thinking about maybe this is time. And certainly he consulted with other party leaders and apparently just decided, there are other things to do in life. And he took it as a signal that this is the time to move on. So, that, and I will also tell you, Kate, that Rob was involved in the most infamous contentious race in New Canaan that I'm aware of in, let's say, the past 50 years. I haven't heard of anything. It was when he was going against Republican Paul Giusti for the endorsement back in 2011. And that apparently, insiders tell me that really split the town. That really divided the town. And so you had the Giusti folks and the Malazzi folks, and there was no middle ground, and they were pitted against one another. And some people say, we don't want that to ever happen again. So maybe that affected Rob's decision too, that he didn't want to put the town through that kind of divisive period.
Now, New Canaan is still largely a Republican town, but have Democrats announced anyone to run against Moynihan?
Yes, they have, and it's noteworthy that Republicans, for the first time in many years, they don't have a majority. They have a plurality. They have about 47% of registered voters, and Democrats have about 20%. So there's about, a little under 70, and the balance is unaffiliated. So I was just doing a little noodling this morning for this week's publications, and realizing that the D's and the U's, the unaffiliated and the Democrats, actually outnumber Republicans. So that is relatively new. What was your question, Kate? Sorry, I got off track on that.
Have the Democrats nominated a candidate to run for first selectman?
Yes, for the first time since 2009, the Democrats have nominated or endorsed a candidate for first selectman, Kit Devereaux. Kit is very well liked. She's been on the town council. She has been on the Board of Finance. She has been the president of the League of Women Voters, and that probably barely scratches the surface of her resume. So she's very well liked, and she's going to take on Kevin Moynihan for first selectman. So that'll be good and exciting.
All right. Well, Greg, thank you so much for the update. And we've always enjoyed having Rob Malazzi on the HAN network, so we do wish him the best of luck in his future endeavors. Yeah. And Greg, thank you for the update. Everyone can get more at ncadvertiser.com. Thanks so much, Greg.
Thank you, Kate. Bye.
All right. Now, before we take a break, just a couple of other towns that we're kind of following and you can get more information on. In Shelton, as of now, Shelton Mayor Mark Loretti is seeking his 14th term. That's a record-breaking number for the town. He's uncontested. The city's Democrats did not have a candidate to run against him. Loretti's also seeking a gubernatorial bid, but this is not interrupting his run for office for that term. Now, the Democrats, however, are losing a 32-year member of the Board of Aldermen. The lone Democrat, Jack Finn, has decided not to run for re-election, but you can get a lot more on that at sheltonherald.com. And of course, in Trumbull, First Selectman Tim Herbst has stepped back to focus on his gubernatorial bid. So that race is opened up, and right now, Paul Lavoie, a Republican, has received his party's nomination. He's a Board of Ed member, former Board of Finance member, and Vicky Tesoro, a Democrat that actually came close to unseating Herbst 2 years ago, has been nominated by her party. There's also a petition candidate, Michael Redgate, who's stepped forward. So you can follow TrumbullTimes.com for more on that. And of course, follow, no matter what town you're from, follow your local HAN Network news site for the latest on municipal politics. We're going to step out for a break and come back and lighten things up a lot with Doug Smith for some drawing conclusions after this.
School's out, the weather is hot, and the fish are biting. Whether you're heading to the beach or out on a boat, stop in at the dock shop before you go to fill your beach bag or tackle box with everything you'll need for fun in the sun. A new beach cover-up, some sunscreen, or just some bait, the dock shop has you covered from either location. 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport. And yes, you heard that right. Bait is now available in Darien and Westport. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport. DockShop.com.
I can't believe it.
Well, Dad, you did it. You sold 160 cars. Ready to go back upstairs now?
I think it's time. I wonder how the boys are making out in their new office. not what I had in mind, Kyle. What, Dad?
Maybe we should retire. Right now, lease a 2017 Rogue S for only $139 a month.
Isn't it time you got Millerized?
If you've ever thought about owning a motor coach or learning about what it's like to travel the open road in superior style and comfort, then contact Dave's RV Center in Danbury, Connecticut. Offering the best quality Class A motorhomes from Newmar, travel trailers and fifth wheel lines from Surveyor, and a toy hauler line from Work and Play. Choose from Newmar's Gas Line, Base Star and Canyon Star, or from Newmar's Diesel Line, Ventana and Dutch Star. And with unparalleled service and maintenance, Dave's RV is committed to keeping you and your motor coach safely on the road and enjoying it to the fullest. Stop by their showroom, 2 Industrial Plaza Road, Danbury, Connecticut, or call 877-483-3866. If you
want a new experience in car buying? Skep Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram with one of the largest inventories of new 2- and 4-door Wranglers. We are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Come visit our new Ram Truck Center. Browse our websites, skepchryslerjeep.com or skepdodge.net to find the new Jeep, Chrysler Dodge car, minivan, or Ram truck you've been looking for. Just 2 miles from both I-95 or the Merritt Parkway exit 44. Save thousands right now at the summer clearance event. Going on now through July 31st.
If you're watching this broadcast, you're not alone. The HAN network is available for 200,000 Connecticut cable customers on the Frontier network, and we've also reached more than 2 million viewers on our free live streaming sports, news, and entertainment broadcasts. To reach our rapidly growing audience, contact Advertising Director Jessica Murrin at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
Welcome back to CT Pulse. It's time for some drawing conclusions. Doug Smith receiving a medal from his cat.
Yeah, I guess I'm Eagle Scout or something. You know?
Congratulations, Doug. All right. Well, let's take a look at some of the cartoons you have for us this weekend from last week. Some
right.
Some of
So
these
we were
are
out
from last week.
week.
So the first one, we have some humor about the gubernatorial fundraising goals.
Yeah, Tim Herbst getting close to his goal there. The funny part was when I first did the cartoon, I wasn't thinking, and I made it $250. And
if only that
I know
were
Don Eng pointed out, it's like, everyone wants to make a run for governor then. But
yeah, and I like the color of his suit. It's interesting. Now, this is cool because you actually were able to reuse this
to recycle the cartoon into Shelton.
And
Mark
you have
Loretti.
a long history since it's his 14th term that he's coming up on as mayor. So you've been drawing him for a long time.
Oh gosh, since the 90s.
Since the 90s, yeah. And he's rocking the blue suit there.
Yep.
All right, up next, the governor killing the housing bill. Tell me about this one.
They had a bill they proposed which would I think allow the trailer parks to be counted as their affordable housing, which would create a moratorium for them, and then the developers couldn't come in for 4 years?
Right.
But it turns out this week the Senate and the House of Representatives overrode Malloy's veto, and the bill went through.
Oh, wow.
So.
All right. Well, up next.
That bill's going to come back from the dead.
Come back from the dead, that's right. Now, up next, you have a New Canaan cartoon.
Right, because we now have the natural gas pipeline, which is finally going to come through New Canaan. And I guess Paraco and Hokon won't be too thrilled with that, but...
I like the smiling gas line. He's very happy.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We also have Easton. Oh, always my favorite, bear cartoons.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about this one.
Oh, just they had a program at the library that'll teach the facts about bears, and so we had the bears sneaking in there, and kind of like a Yogi Bear type inspired
Asking
cartoon.
everyone to leave some honey, jam, berries, and pastries outside.
We're harmless.
Now, up next, we have a Darien cartoon. Find Waldo all this month in Darien. Oh, no. But there's been a lot of they are still leaving cars unlocked, and not only that, but leaving valuables in them. I mean, really nice stuff.
Who does that?
What?
Seriously.
Lock the car. And sometimes keys. We've seen a lot of stolen cars recently. So this guy's more interested in finding some wallets.
Exactly.
So you made it a nice little public service announcement for 2 different events happening in town. And up next, tell us about this next one for Weston.
Oh, we had a story the other week on Fisher cats in town. It's a new threat, not a new one, but just to be aware of that, they prey on small animals and causing trouble.
And they sound like a baby scream.
They sound like a baby scream, but I think in this world of hypersensitivity, a lot of adults sound like babies screaming too.
That's true. It's a good point. It's a very good point. And finally, we have a cartoon from Monroe. Tell us about this one.
They had a P.T. Barnum thing at the library where you can, I guess somebody was going to dress up and be Barnum and pretend to be him, talk about his history, and So we just had to play on his old sucker born every minute.
There's a sucker. Oh, nice. I love it. All right, Doug, as usual, thank you so much for lightening things up a little bit.
Okay, thank
we
you.
will see you next week. And we're going to wrap things up here on CT Pulse. Of course, if you missed anything, you can watch it on demand later. And do not miss the live coverage of the Babe Ruth 14U Regional Tournament Championship coming up today. Pre-game starts at 4:30 on the HAN network. Have a great day.